Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Ozer Culhagil of Elite Income Advisors. Prashant, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I am fantastic. Always a pleasure to see you. Ozer, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Wonderful to see both of you. And obviously, gentlemen, you've both been so incredibly busy, and I'm so excited that you always take the time to come into the studio. Lots of questions surrounding how to retire comfortably, how to retire with confidence. Right. So I should ask you, Ozer, right out of the gate, what types of questions are you seeing people come into the office with for the very first time? What are they asking?
Well, most of the time the questions is asking around the income. Are we going to be able to retire comfortably?
Okay.
Then are we going to have enough money? And what are the taxes are going to be? And required minimum distributions, another important question, and Medicare comes in for a lot of questions.
Yeah, there's so many parts of this retirement plan, but by far it's got to be, you know, are we at risk of running out of money, right? I mean, with people living longer and longer these days, it feels like there's an overwhelming kind of concern about, do we have enough to retire the way that we want to? So by far, that's the number one question we get, because, you know, people have heard, I mean, if you watch the news enough, you'll hear things about retirement like, oh, I have to have $1 million saved to retire, or, you know, there's so many different myths out there, I think.
Right.
And so it's kind of debunking those myths and really creating a plan that is custom for you. Because in all the years that we've been doing this, what we found is that no two plans are the same, right? As much as you want to compare your retirement account or your retirement situation with your colleague or your, you know, in-laws or your friends or your golf buddies or whatever, the fact is their situation is not the same as yours, and so your plan is not going to be the same as theirs. So that's why I think it really kind of pays off to get a customized plan in place.
Most definitely, tailored to that person specifically. Right. One of the myths that we debunked recently was the 4% rule, because obviously that doesn't really apply anymore today, with inflation being so ahead of the game, if you will.
That's right. That's right. And so if you just think about that, if you retired with $1 million and your expectation was to you know, take out $40,000 a year, or 4%, and now the market goes through a downturn like we saw in the early 2000s, where we have 2 or 3 years in a row of double-digit negative returns, that could do a heck of a lot in, you know, putting you in a situation where you're at risk of running out of money, right? And so your only options at that point in time potentially are to either reduce your standard of living, or just take the risk and continue to withdraw the $40,000, understanding that there's a greater risk that you may run out of money. Most financial advisors will tell you don't take out quite as much, or better yet, don't take out anything at all, right? And so when you get to retirement, do you really want to be in a position where the market goes down, your entire retirement nest egg is subject to that market going down, and now you have to sacrifice the standard of living you have? To me, that doesn't seem like a very fun way to retire.
Absolutely. And we know that a lot of people have questions, because we've had some viewer questions that have come in. So, Prashant, I want you and Ozer to tackle this one, if you don't mind. This is a caller that came in. Her name is Rachel. My husband, Rich, is going to retire next year at age 67. I'm planning to retire the following year at 65. What should we be doing differently with our investments as we get ready to retire? We have approximately $1.3 million in our 401ks, as well as about $200,000 in a Roth IRA. Any advice that you could give is greatly appreciated.
So I appreciate the question, what should we be doing differently? And the frank answer to that is, I'm not sure that you should be doing anything differently necessarily, right? I think what that depends on is having a good understanding of where your income is actually going to come from. So it's great that you saved $1.5 million, some of it in 401k, some of it in Roth. I think the bigger question that needs to be answered, and maybe you have an answer to this, or maybe you don't, is off of that $1.5 million, how much of a paycheck can you create for yourself reliably? And how much is that paycheck that you will create from it, how much of that paycheck is subjected to the ups and the downs of the market? Now, when we think about retirement planning, we're always thinking about it in terms of bucketing your money. So in this case, I don't see a 401k that has $1.3 million. What I see, or what goes through my mind, is how many different buckets of money do we have for different time periods, for different market situations, to be able to create the income that we require to be able to retire the way that we want to? So it's a great question. We get those types of questions a lot, but in some cases, you don't need to make changes. If you have the income taken care of, you don't need to make a change. But what we find is that most people don't know where their retirement paycheck is coming from, and that's what we help people with every single day.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Thank you, Prashant. Ozzy, another question that we have, and this is a great one. It says, I have recently changed jobs, but I have an old 401k. Should I leave it at the old employer or should I move it?
Well, it all depends. Like, you know, the one thing that we would like to know first is, how you been invested in the old 401k, and how is that going to come into your overall retirement plan, right? Like what Prashant said is that you have the money, but how much income are you going to get? With this new employer, the nice thing is most of the time that is true that you do make some contribution to your 401k, and the employers sometimes do some matching. But that doesn't apply when you have the old 401k and bring that old 401k to the new 401k. There is not going to be a match. But maybe it will be better if it stays in the old place, if the investment options are the investment options that that person is looking for.
So it sounds like what you're saying is really that every person's different, right? For some people, leaving the money in the old 401k is a good idea. Yeah. For other people, rolling it over to an IRA could be a great idea as well. Just remember, when you go to an IRA account, IRAs are individual retirement accounts, which means within an IRA, you have what I would call investment flexibility. You can get stocks in an IRA, you can get bonds, annuities, mutual funds, real estate, commodities like gold and silver. You can buy all that stuff within an IRA. And so at what point do the options available to you in an IRA become better options than the one offered through your 401k? And that answer is different for every single person. It's all dependent on your objectives. And I think that's what the problem is with the financial advisory industry in general, is that a lot of advisors are out there not thinking about the bigger picture, right? They're so focused on what is the best stock or bond or annuity or mutual fund to put a client into. And what they forget to do is actually figure out what any person's goals, dreams, and objectives are and custom tailor a plan that fits those particular objectives. And so if you're working with an advisor and you've never talked about what the next 20 years of your life actually looks like, what is important to you, what do you want to do when you retire, what you want your legacy to be when you're gone, if you haven't had those conversations, maybe it's time to work with a specialist. Maybe it's time to get a second look at what it is that you're doing. And that's what we do on our show every single week. You can call into the show by dialing 833-308-5200. And when you call in, you'll be able to schedule some time to come visit with our team at Elite Income Advisors. Now, when you come into the office, we're going to have a conversation about what you would like the rest of your life to look like. And then we will help you custom tailor a plan that is going to involve different buckets of money to help achieve those retirement goals. But that's where it starts. It starts with identifying what your objectives are and then putting together an income plan that can help you down that path. So that phone number again is 833-308-5200. When you come in to visit with us, it's totally complimentary for that initial consultation. And then we'll actually help you prepare a plan. And then at that point in time, we'll decide whether or not we're a good fit for each other. And by the way, not every person is a great fit for what we do. Okay, we're not a good fit for everybody. Everybody's not a good fit for us. But what we try to do is get people the information that they need to make really good financial decisions. So pick up the phone, give us a call. If you can't call right now, you can always visit retiremaryland.com or scan the QR code here at the bottom of the screen. That'll help you get on our schedule sometime soon.
Prashant, thank you so much. And Ozzy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is on your screen, 833-308-5200. We know that you're sitting in the audience today thinking about your own personal retirement. What do those years look like for you? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? Prashant and Ozzy are offering you the opportunity to come into the office, get to know them, and vice versa. That number again, 833-308-5200. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, I want to talk to Prashant and Ozzy about the difference between a 401k and a Roth 401k. Stay tuned.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Ben. Hey, birthday party for Carol and 5. Happy birthday to you.
Good morning, Ben. Happy Monday.
Daryl's birthday, be there every square. Happy birthday to you. You can see from our quarterly report on slide number 62, we're trending in the right direction. All signs point to a very positive outlook for the next several years. If you peel back the onion...
Ben, do you have anything to add?
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Ozzy Culhagil of Elite Income Advisors. A great show we're having today, gentlemen, talking about the importance of having a proper plan in place for retirement. Staying on that same vein, if you will, of viewer questions, I think this is a great one. This call came in and said, can you help me understand what is the difference between a 401k and a Roth 401k, and which one should I be contributing to?
So a traditional 401k is a pre-tax retirement account. Okay, it's offered through your employer, and every time you make contributions to a traditional 401k, those contributions are potentially tax deductible, which is good. That means you put the money in and you get to deduct it off of your income tax. So you do not pay any taxes on the dollars that you save up until the point that you go and withdraw them. Now, when you withdraw them, you have to pay all the taxes from an income basis. So federal tax, state tax if you're living in a state that has state income tax. So a Roth 401k is another type of retirement plan offered through your employer where you receive no tax deduction for making a contribution. So that means after-tax dollars go into it, but when you go to withdraw that money in retirement, provided that you're over the age of 59 and a half, and provided that you've had the funds in that Roth status for at least 5 years, the withdrawals are actually 100% income tax free.
Wow.
Okay. By the way, my 3 favorite words in the industry: income tax free.
Yes,
okay. So
yes, good words.
Income tax free is great for a Roth 401k. Now, the second part of that question was interesting. Which one is better, right? And oftentimes the answer is yes, right? What I mean by that is some people, the traditional is better. If you're a really high income earning bracket, it may make sense for you to take the tax deduction by contributing to the 401k. If you're in a position where your taxes are not at risk of going up by making Roth contributions, that may actually be the better option for you. So there is no cookie cutter solution. If there was, I'd just give it to you on TV and we could all do something different. But with that being said, it just comes back to this idea that your plan has to fit your situation, not your friends, not your, in-laws or whatever. It's got to be your plan.
I love that, and I love that you spend so much time designing that plan for your clients. Ozzy, we have another viewer question, and I love this one because we can break down exactly what that is. It says, Ozzy, can you help me understand? I've heard you talk about the Retire Smart Roadmap. What is it?
So every time there's a client comes into our office, what we try to do is we put together the Income for Life report. We put together the Social Security Maximization report. And when we do that, we show them each and every year what their income is going to be look like. It's not a perfect science. There's going to be some changes. That's why we like to meet with our clients at least once a year to go through the expenses, to go through the income, and go through the market, like what happened, what changed. But what we do is we want to make sure that the people has some kind of a guidance for the rest of their lives that they can take a look at, and they can see what is the income going to be look like for the rest of their life.
I love that. So having a roadmap is an easy thing to follow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, literally everything. It's a guide how to get to one point to the next, almost like when you're driving in the car and you had your map. Well, back in the day when you had your, you don't have those anymore. The triptychs, right? Remember the triptychs? I don't want to go. It's incredible.
Yeah, but
it's
a great point that you bring up. It's no different than getting in the car and turning on your GPS, right? And your GPS tells you exactly what you need to do to get to your final destination. This Retire Smart roadmap is very similar to that. Now, one thing that we can't do is we can't predict the future, right? So what we try to do is we try to mitigate our risk. Retirement planning, in my opinion, is not about investing and you know, Social Security and everything. That's important, but really what it's about, it's mitigating or eliminating risk from the unknown, right? Because we don't know what the stock market's going to do. We don't know what's going to happen politically in this country. We don't know what's going to happen with taxes. All of those things are things that we simply don't know what the results are, but we can proactively take steps to mitigate the risk associated with those different types of things. And that's exactly what having a real roadmap will do for you.
Absolutely. And Prashant, there was another question that came in, and I think this is a great one as well. I'm very concerned about leaving money to my children. Can you help me with legacy planning?
Did my dad send that question?
He did. It is your dad.
Yeah. So, you know, it's a great question. So leaving a legacy is so important, right? It's so important for a couple of different reasons. We always say that when you pass away, you want your money to go to your beneficiaries, and we want to maximize that amount, right? We want as little going to the federal government as we can afford. And so when we look at it, leaving a legacy is very important, and having a real plan surrounding that is important. Believe it or not, one thing that's pretty common that we see is when you get to the age of 73 years old, that's when you're required to take minimum distributions out of your 401k, your IRA, your TSP. We have so many clients that actually do not need the income. They have pensions and Social Security. And so now when they're forced to take out this distribution, they don't need it, but they still have to pay taxes on it. So one question we get all the time is, what do I do with this RMD money? If I have $30,000 that I have to take out of my retirement accounts, what do I do with it? And one thing that we've been able to do with a lot of folks recently is actually use that money to create a 100% tax-free legacy for your kids and your grandkids, and protect you for long-term care at the same time. Okay. And that's like an incredibly powerful thing that I think not enough people know about, right? Yeah. And so this is something you've been doing for years, longer than I've been here. But with that being said,
not too much longer.
You know, he's been working with our clients on these type of legacy planning ideas for years now. Yeah. And it's all about income tax free. Okay, at the end of the day, you want as much money going to your heirs as possible, and as little as possible going to the federal government. So it's a very important thing to go through.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, you know, I know that we do these shows all the time, and people, they come in to visit with us and they tell us, you know, the first thing I ask when someone comes into our office is, was there something you heard on the show that caught your attention, or was it more so just getting a plan together? And most people come in because they hear something that resonates with them. So if you're sitting at home on the couch thinking, oh, I've never had a legacy plan put together before, I don't really know if I have a real roadmap to my final destination, this is going to be your opportunity to get what you need, okay? It's 833-308-5200. When you dial that phone number, our operators are standing by to schedule you for an initial visit with our office. Now, when you come in to visit with us, it's totally complimentary. You leave that checkbook at home. You don't pay us anything for that initial consultation. And when you're coming in, there's no obligation to do any business with us. You're not agreeing to become a client. All you're doing is coming in to explore your situation in a little bit more depth and see if there's a plan that makes sense for you to get you on track to the retirement that you've always dreamt of. It starts with a phone call. That's 833-308-5200, as the spots on our calendar are limited. Or if you can't call right now, you can always scan the QR code, or you can visit retiremaryland.com to check out our resources there and also schedule an appointment on the website.
Prashant, thank you so much. And Ozzy, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, that number to call is on your screen, 833-308-5200. We know that you have a lot of questions for Prashant and Ozzy, so please keep those coming in. And don't miss the opportunity to call in today to book that complimentary consultation, 833-308-5200. We're going to take a very short commercial break here on Retire Smart Maryland. But when we come back, I want to ask Ozzy and Prashant the difference between a Roth conversion and a Roth contribution. Stay tuned.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia Defazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Ozzy Culhagil of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, a great show we're having today, and I love the viewer questions that come in because obviously people want to ask so many different things, a wide variety of topics, and I love that they're very curious to know the answers. This next one is a very good question, I think, because they're looking for the difference to be explained between a Roth contribution and a Roth conversion. I've heard both of these terms, but I don't understand the difference.
So Roth contribution is when you take money and you contribute it in a tax year to your Roth IRA. Okay, now the trouble with a Roth contribution in a lot of cases is that they're highly restrictive. What I mean by that is you can only put in up to a certain limit. The limit's not very high, okay? And so when you put that money in for the year, you've maxed out that contribution, okay? Now, the second part of it is that you must have earned income to contribute to a Roth. So if you're already retired and you don't have earned income coming in, you may not be eligible to actually make a Roth IRA contribution. Lastly, is that it's means tested. What that means is that if you earn too much income, either as an individual or as a household, if you're married, you can't earn more than a certain income level and still be able to make a Roth contribution. And so while Roth IRAs and contributing to Roth IRAs is typically a good way to potentially create tax-free income in the future, they're very difficult to navigate through because of all the restrictions. A Roth conversion, by contrast, is when you take your pre-tax IRA and you convert it to a Roth. When you convert it to a Roth, it goes from pre-tax to tax-free. Okay, now the only issue with that is that all of the conversion that you make in any given year is fully taxable to you at your ordinary income level. It counts as income, which means you'll pay federal and state income tax. But what's good about a Roth conversion is that anybody can do one. There's no age limit, okay? There's no requirement to be working to do that. I mean, I did a Roth conversion last year, actually, with an old, smaller IRA that I had. And I did that because I wanted it to be a tax-free account. So the biggest thing there is just understanding what the tax consequences are when you do a Roth conversion. I think that everybody out there should at least consider whether or not a Roth conversion is the right thing to do for you. We find that for a lot of people, it's a great strategy that they've never looked at before. For some people, it just doesn't make sense to do Roth conversions. But that's why I think meeting with an actual professional and then getting your tax advisor involved in that conversation is a really powerful tool for you to potentially harness for your retirement income.
That makes sense. Ozzy, in your opinion, why is it that a lot of advisors do not talk about the Roth with their clients? Any advice on that?
I cannot speak for the other advisors, but the one only thing that I can say is, like, first we have to look at the client to see if the client in a great position to be able to do the conversion. Like Prashant says, there's a lot of things involved that you're going to make that conversion, and when you make that conversion, you are going to pay the taxes. Either it's federal or state, depends on the state that you are living in, and you have to pay the taxes in the next tax year. Then is it going to raise your income? High likely it's going to raise your income. If it's raising, are you going to go into the next tax bracket? There is a lot of planning involved, and that's the part of the reason that we do have an in-house CPA who is trying to help some of the clients that we have. And when they need some tax advice, they can go talk with the CPA, and the CPA can run them a mock tax return to see what the taxes are going to be look like next year. Again, it's not a perfect science, but at least the clients can see if it's advantage to them or not.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all with a Roth.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's got to be customized for you. And it's funny, you asked the question, like, why don't advisors do it? I would answer with a different question that's kind of the same thing, which is, why don't you have your doctor represent you in court if you have a legal issue? It's because they're not specialized to do it, right?
There you go.
And so you want to go work with a specialist, right? If I need surgery, I want to go work with a specialist. If I, have a legal thing, I want to hire the lawyer that's specialized in whatever it is that I'm going through, right?
Absolutely.
Why is your financial situation any different?
It's true.
Right? If you're entering that distribution retirement phase of your lifetime, why would you not work with a distribution specialist, right? And
Absolutely.
by the way, there's so many advisors out there that are really good at their job, and they're really well-intentioned, and they're highly qualified for what they do. And what we find is that what they're qualified for is the accumulation phase of your lifetime. You might be working with an advisor for the last 15 or 20 years, and they've maybe done a great job for you. You have to ask the question, are they specialized to get you through the next phase of your lifetime? Just because they're specialized in helping you get to retirement doesn't always mean that they're the best person to help get you through retirement, okay? When you come in to visit with us, you can dial 833-308-5200. We focus on the distribution phase of retirement. We don't have too many clients that are 30 and 40 years old. We deal with people that have established wealth, not so much people that are establishing wealth. So give us a call, come in, visit with us, and let's see if we can find a retirement plan that works for you.
Gentlemen, thank you so very much for another amazing show. To our viewers at home, be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today on Retire Smart, Maryland.